How's it going, guys? And in this video we are going to be adjusting the valve clearance as well as changing the spark plugs on this Honda Fit. I've already removed the air intake box, but if you haven't, there are two 10 or 12 mil bolts right there and there, and then once that comes off, you will also unclip an mass airflow sensor right here, disconnect that cable, and then there are some clips that you'll need to like compress and then slip off or to get this air box out of the way. The reason you need to get this air box out of the way is because we're going to be removing this throttle body in order to get this other intake manifold plastic piece off. So that's what we're working on, and stay tuned. Alright guys, so that's what the bracket looks like. We've got three 12 mil bolts up top, followed by two 12 mil nuts on the bottom. These are the brackets and how they were positioned to basically sandwich this plastic intake part onto the actual intake runners on this engine. So we've got that out. Now what I'm going to be doing is disconnecting these wires. So basically just some electrical connectors that you just press down on. And I'll try to do this with one hand. There you go, not too bad. It's like it just comes right off. And then this guy, there's a little hook back here. You can see it with my finger kind of, but basically just put that on and then you wiggle this guy. And I'll do this with two hands so I don't break anything. Or not. Right there, so that's how we got that guy off. Now, I'm also going to be disconnecting this, which is the brake booster vacuum line. You can see it goes up there. Basically, you're just going to get some needle nose pliers and remove that. And then we've also got the brackets right here that hold our actual throttle body into this plastic connector to the actual aluminum pipes. So I'm going to be loosening that, and then we will see how this thing's looking. Alright, so we almost got this thing off. The only other thing we got to get to is that 10 mil bolt right deep in there, and then this thing will come up. I also need to remove that one little bracket on that intake vacuum line. So yes, that is what I'm trying to get to, and once I can get that, we will be in the green. So this is what it looks like now that we've got the intake manifold off. These gaskets look like they're in pretty good condition. We can see our throttle body. This car has about 200,000 miles on it, so good opportunity to clean the throttle body, as other YouTubers have mentioned. And so now we've got the actual coil packs right here, each with their own little plugs. So I'm going to be disconnecting these plugs. Then we've got this kind of layout here. I don't know if this one is missing a bolt right there, but whatever. So I'm going to be removing these bolts and then also disconnecting this, I believe this is like a breather hose for the valve cover, or headers. And so got that, and then this is the other stuff, what it looks like. So just going to be removing these. That'll get us some good access to our spark plugs as well. Going to be removing the spark plugs, and yeah, so coming along pretty smoothly. And here is the actual valve cover removed. The little things that kind of are snags was there's this little 12 mil bolt right here that holds on this bracket up like that, and this clip is what clips into this little black plastic thing. So I just removed this whole bracket just so I could make sure I got this enough out of the way. I'm just going to leave all this stuff hanging right there right now because I don't really need to take anything more apart than I have. The only other thing I'm going to be doing right now is removing the 4 spark plugs. And then we are now able to see the actual timing sprocket, or the cam sprocket, sorry. And so this is your timing chain. And right now this looks really, really clean, which is good to see. And then there's a little bit of RTV or silicone sealant in these little edge areas just to help prevent the leaking. Yeah, so this is looking good. I'm happy with that. All of the valve cover bolts are the same, and yeah, coming along well. Gonna get these spark plugs out, and then we can actually continue with adjusting the timing, and I'm also gonna be replacing these spark plugs, so stay tuned. I see that some people, when they're changing the spark plugs on these cars, go as far as to actually remove this whole top assembly with the wiper blade motors and all that. I really don't want to do all that extra work, so I took a so I got my spark plug socket, and then I've got a 1/2 inch little extension on it, and I'm just going to stick it right in there like so, and these things sit down, so that's right now on the spark plug. And then I'm going to take my 1/2 inch ratchet, and we're going to break all these things free, and that's how we're going to be replacing these spark plugs without having to go through the pain and suffering of taking all that extra stuff off. You can do it that way, and if you do it that way, you'd have better clearance, because I can't get my usual spark plug removal tool thing up there because it's just literally not enough room. So I'm just going to make use of some extensions, and that's how we're going to get this job done. Now what we're going to be doing is trying to get the cam sprocket up in time, because the way we're going to be adjusting these valves is by moving the crankshaft harmonic balancer underneath this engine. So I've already removed the passenger wheel on this car, and then I have a 19 mil socket on an extension. This is a 1/2 inch drive, so we're just going to put this guy right on there. And then when you're turning this crankshaft, we're only going to be rotating it clockwise. So in this case, it's at that on position. Never go counterclockwise, only go clockwise. And I'm just going to be, give me 1 second, basically going to be, as you can see, rotating the harmonic balancer on this crank. And it's really easy right now because we've got our spark plugs removed, otherwise it would be a lot harder, so I can literally do this with one hand right now. And so what we're doing is we're rotating it clockwise until we can see the little timing mark. So that you can see is a number 4. And as I rotate this more, the number 2 just came up. So what does that mean? It means that cylinder 2 is at top dead center. So cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 is closest to your cam sprocket. So as I continue to rotate this, you can see those valves rising and falling, which is pretty cool. This up thing right there means that cylinder 1, once I get that level, that looks to be as level as I can reasonably make it. That is what I'm going to call top dead center. Now what we're going to be doing, now that we've got cylinder 1 at top dead center, is making use of our feeler gauge. And so each one of these pieces of metal is a different thickness. And so as we can hear, there's a little bit of a gap right now between the actual rocker arms and the top of the valves. And so we're adjusting that clearance on all of these to make sure that they're the same. So on this particular engine, we know that this is our intake side, so these are our intakes, and then on this side, these are the exhaust headers, so these are going to be the exhaust valves. And so there is a different gap, and that gap varies between manufacturers and engines. On this particular car, Honda calls for a gap between 6/1000ths of an inch and 8/1000ths of an inch for the intakes, and on the exhausts, I'm going to be shooting for 10/1000ths of an inch and 12/1000ths of an inch. And so the way these things work, if we just take one of our exhausts or one of our intakes to begin with, what I'm going to do is take a 10 mil wrench like this. I should probably put gloves on just so I don't cut myself, because these things are pretty sharp. Basically, you just take this guy on, and sometimes these are really torqued down, so you can use a little ratchet here to help yourself break this free. You just need to loosen it, you don't need to take it off all the way. I'm just going to do that on this other one too. So now we've got these things loose. I'm going to be taking the feeler gauge, and what you're doing is you're slipping the metal piece underneath the top of this thing and the actual rocker arm. And so I want to see if 6/1000ths is able to slide in there. And this appears to be a little bit too tight right now, because that is not a happy camper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver, and basically I'm going to raise this. So to raise it, you're going to rotate this counterclockwise. And we're adjusting it until this guy can slide just barely. So we're just feeling it really. So right there is what 6/1000ths of an inch should feel like. There's a little bit of friction. And then we're going to take our wrench like this, put that guy right on there, and then proceed to tighten this. While holding the flathead screw straight. And so now that you've tightened that, you can just double check yourself. Confirm that 6/1000ths is able to just barely get in there. When I go to 8 thousandths, it shouldn't fit at all. 8 thousandths, not able to fit. So that is how we can confirm that we've now got this one set to the correct gap. Now we're going to do the same on this one. Literally the same process. And now we're going to do this with our exhausts. And so on our exhausts, we're shooting for 10 thousandths of an inch to 12 thousandths of an inch. So I'm going to start with 10 thousandths. This guy should be able to fit in there, and he can't. So we're going to break this free. And I'm going to be loosening up this guy right here. So that feels good. Okay. Still able to move 10 thousandths. Okay. When I try to go up to 12 thousandths, it's too fat, so we know we've got around 10 thousandths of a gap right in there. So I'm trying to put on the new seals on the actual valve cover bolts here, and I'm going to be using some vice grips to hold it in there, and then I'm trying to sneak these other vice grips around it, and then basically I'm just going to be pulling this guy off. Alright, that was painful, but there's one of them. So now I'm going to take one of these new guys. Okay. I think that's it. So I'm using a socket, and hopefully I don't lose that socket. The only other thing you have to do at this point is to install the actual airbox right here and hook up these hoses and stuff and these clips. So once you do that, you'll be completely done. Hope this video was helpful. Thank you all for watching, and take care.